So this week on Tuesday Talks, we are talking about our favorite genres and why they are our favorite genres. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to kind of do a video I've been meaning to do for a while, which is to talk about why I do read young adult books as a 30-year-old person who is a little bit outside of that age range. That topic is going to be at the later half of this video because I want to talk about my specific genres that are my favorites first. When I look at my statistics on GOODREADS, it tells me that every year I've been using GOODREADS, I have shelved more books under the contemporary genre than any other genre, and this actually quite surprises me because I've always considered myself to be a fantasy girl. That sounded weird. A fantasy reader, not a fantasy girl. That sounds like weird. Far from it. So looking more at fantasy and the reason why I claim fantasy as my favorite genre. I really love fantasy books because the worlds are just so imaginative and there are so many different subgenres within fantasy. It can vary so vastly from book to book, whereas with a contemporary, your plot and your characters can vary, but your setting is very much going to be limited to our world and what the rules of reality are. Personally, I find fantasy to be the most imaginative genre, and that is something that I look for in books, something that takes me outside of what I am used to, and fantasy can do that very easily because you're having to learn a new world. In contemporary books, if I want to go to that wonderful location that has been described so well that it makes me want to get up and travel there, I can do that in real life. But when else, other than in fantasy books, am I ever going to have a chance to slay dragons and conjure fire and crazy amazing things like that? So that is why I love fantasy. Now to go back and touch on what I said in the very beginning and the title of this video, I want to talk about why I read young adult books, even though clearly I am older than that age range. And some sources consider YA to be a genre in and of itself, but I feel like YA is more of a category or an audience instead of the actual genre, because if you call a book YA and that's it, that doesn't really tell you anything about what it's about. I feel like being an adult reader of YA kind of merits an explanation as to why I prefer these books, which I feel really oddly about because why should I have to explain what I like to read? Any adult should be able to read whatever they want to read, but I do feel like this is a thing that is done in our book community these days, that adults are still trying to explain why they're reading YA, so I'm just going to do it briefly because this is mainly what I talk about on my channel, and if you are curious, here are my reasons why I read YA fiction so much. Even though I am an adult and I am a bit removed from the circumstances that YA characters are dealing with in these books, I still have been there at one point in time. I was a teenager and remember what it was like to be that 15-year-old facing the huge world, trying to figure out everything about life, what you believed in, what you want to do, who you wanted to hang out with. I can remember that and I can relate to it. Not that relatability has to be present in a book, because yes, you should be branching out and reading about characters and things that are totally outside of what you would normally experience in your life, but that is an age and a life circumstance that I can remember, as opposed to adult fiction, which I might pick up and discover that the main character is a 40-year-old divorcee with adult children. I have not experienced anything close to a lot of life situations that are presented in adult books. It's not that I can't still relate to the characters in other ways, it's not that I can't enjoy those stories, because I very much do, but I'm not going to understand exactly how does this really impact a person's life. Also, I think that the teenage years in general are just a lot more formative. You are experiencing things that you will never again and never before have experienced in life. You are learning how to relate to people outside of just your family members. You are learning how to handle romantic relationships. You are learning how to make long-term decisions and set goals for your life, at least until you change your mind again 5 or 10 years down the road. But my teen and young adult life are some of the most ingrained years of my life in my memory, because I was able to understand and comprehend a lot more about what was going on around me. I was making more independent decisions, gaining more self-autonomy. I can kind of remember what it was like to make those decisions instead of projecting myself onto the older character where it's like I have no idea. I think it's just a fascinating, formative phase of life. I guess that's all I really have to say about it. I think that those are my main reasons for reading YA. I don't read them just because they are short and quick, although that definitely is a bonus, but there are plenty of adult books that are short and quick as well. If you're an adult who reads YA, please let me know your reasons for reading it down below, and going back to the original topic, let me know what your favorite genre is. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye! Resources about young adult fiction out there. I don't like talking like that. I don't know what's happening here. This is so rambly. Go away! Dust everywhere! Where is it coming from? Stupid dust. I hate you. I'm so tired of editing and finding little dust going.